My husband and I built this house in 1964 when the association was formed. We both grew up in Hyannis, and we were looking at a house lot in Hyannis and here, but the beach sold us, so we built our house here. Our daughter was born here and grew up here. I've been here 55 years.
Now, were you part of the original group that formed the Wequacket Estates Beach Association?
Yes, I was. I was the secretary. Us neighbors got together. I can't remember how many. There weren't that many of us. We were very concerned that the beach might be sold as a house lot, so we wanted to buy it and preserve it. However, we found out that the town of Barnstable has an easement right down the middle of it. It can never be built upon. But that was okay. We were happy to form an association to maintain it. And later on, a couple of years later, we bought an additional strip of land from the Epsteins to make the beach wider.
Was the purchase a vacant lot to begin with, or was it all grassed over? What did it look like when that purchase occurred?
Pretty much as it looks today, actually. Yeah, we really didn't have to do much in the way of clearing the area. We just cleaned it up and put a fence up, make it look pretty.
Mm-hmm. One of the documents you sent me was dated 1974, but it talked about the original meeting in June of 1964 at the home of attorney
Galupo.
Yes. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
He lived in the house that Dr. Smith lived in, directly across from the beach, and now Dr. Smith's son, Timmy, totally renovated the house. You've seen it. Kept the house, which is nice. He was our lawyer. He took care of all the legal stuff.
Okay, so that's why the original bylaws have such a legal feel and sound to them because they were written by a lawyer who was one of the residents.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, we had to, in order to preserve the beach and make it our own, we had to own it. So that's why he came into the picture and did all the legal stuff. I looked at it as a liability, an asset, but also it could be a liability. The beach had to be maintained. Regarding liability, believe it or not, initially my homeowner's insurance also covered the beach. Then one day my insurance agent looked at it and said, "Oh no." He said, "Do you realize that, let's suppose a child trips over a sandcastle on the beach and breaks his leg and sues the association for the medical bills. They can not only sue the association, they can sue you as an individual. We are not covering you for the beach anymore," and I actually have that in writing.
So that's why the insurance writer became part of what has to be managed by the association.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel we've been very lucky in all these years. We have never had somebody sue us because they broke their leg tripping over a sandcastle. That was always in the back of my mind. Yes, it's an asset, but it can also be a liability.
Sure. Moving on to the neighborhood. In the early days, in the 60s, and maybe even the early 70s, what was the neighborhood like?
I would say it was a very nice mix. It was families, it was older people retired, a very nice mix.
And you said your daughter was born
My daughter
in
was
this
born
house.
here and grew up here.
So what was the neighborhood like for kids back in the 60s and 70s?
Enough kids that they could get together and play together. Now that you bring that up, this house lot that my house is on was never meant to be sold as a house lot.
Oh.
It was meant to be a playground for the neighborhood. All the neighbors got together and said, no, we really don't want that. So Mr. Bresner, there actually was a Mr. Bresner, said, okay, I'll sell it as a house lot. And that's when we came along and bought it. This lady is Sharon Lichten. I don't know the other people, but
So
yeah.
the lady on the far left
is Sharon Lichten. Sharon is Kay's daughter-in-law. Well, based on the fence and the old sign, probably the 70s. Yeah, based on that fence. And it's interesting, in my deed, it says I may have a fence. However, it has to be either round rail or split rail. You cannot have a stockade fence. You cannot have any other kind of fence other than the two that I've named.
On your property?
On my property.
Any particular memories about some of the original neighbors that you've had back in 1964? I imagine in 64 there was still a part of this neighborhood that wasn't built out yet.
Exactly. From here all the way up, there were no homes. It was fields. And when we built our house, I said to my husband, oh, is this nice? Look at that. The fields are so beautiful. That lasted 1 year. And Ken Henry was the builder who built all those homes. Who the hell knew they were house lots? You don't know that. I do have an interesting little tidbit that popped into my head regarding the beach. We had a problem with people coming into the neighborhood, actually driving into the neighborhood and going to the beach and insisting it was a town of Barnstable Beach. We said, no, it isn't. It's private. You cannot be here. Most people left except for one guy who lived on Finney's Lane, but on the wrong side. Mm-hmm. He would come most every day, and we told him, you cannot come here. His attitude was, make me. Couldn't get him to leave. So then we thought, maybe we should have policemen come and police the beach. Well, that was just so unwieldy. Are you kidding? To have a policeman there, patrolling the beach?
And it also would have been expensive, wouldn't it?
It would have been expensive. That was not going to happen. So then we thought, okay, we're going to have lanyards, and every time you go to the beach, you have to wear your lanyard. Well, try to enforce that. Are you kidding me? No way. So we finally said, over the years, we really haven't had that much trouble with people coming into the neighborhood, other than this one guy. Mm-hmm. We really can't complain. We don't need to police the beach. Let's let it go. And it's worked out. We really haven't had that problem. 1 year, we had to bring in new sand. It was really bad. It was dirt. You can't just bring in sand. You have to be careful of sand fleas. Bottom line, we ended up buying sand from Provincetown and having it imported, because we had to be sure there were no sand fleas. I love what they've done to the beach. All the beautiful new signs. They cleaned up all the picnic tables. They painted them and the benches, and it just looks so nice.
In 1974, the annual dues were $7 a year per family.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the original dues was in 64 when this all came together?
I don't. It wasn't much. I believe it was based on actual expenses. Yeah, the insurance. I think we had to have some kind of a permit, so we had to pay for that. Maintenance was probably a guess, depending on what we felt we needed that year. Worth it though, worth it to keep it up and maintain it.
Yes.
Well, I used to love the annual picnic at the beach, And Paul and Donna, who live on Pond, Paul would do the cooking. He would bring down his grill, and he would cook steak. Of course we had steak. And of course with this ridiculous virus, everything had to be canceled. Very sad. Yeah. Very sad, because you don't get to meet your new neighbors.
At what point was the decision made to hold annual picnics on the beach and have the general meeting of the entire association on the beach? Do you remember when that started?
I think that happened right from the get-go. I think that happened the very first year. Mm-hmm. It was important that we meet our neighbors and get to know them. I had a very smart builder. He discovered the water table, and he said, I can only go down 4 feet. And I said, I don't want to sell at 4 feet. He said, I am building your house up. I said, I don't want a house that sticks up in the air. He said, we're going to grade it. So the house, when the house was first built, it was like, stick it up.
Like up on stilts or something.
Like up on stilts. He said, we haven't graded yet. So they graded it. I have a nice dry cellar, thanks to him. 7 feet tall. Smart builder.
Nice.
I'm grateful to him. And for some reason, Laurel has been declared a private way. I don't know why. And the town will not put drainage in. Well, you notice if you walk around Bresner and Laurel, my house is set way back. It has to be set back 30 feet from that street and that street. And the reason is, in the original plan for this neighborhood, there was supposed to be a sidewalk on Laurel.
I had seen on a very old plot plan that this whole area right up to Sally Raymond's house was supposed to be an open park. And Bresner was originally named either Park Ave. Yeah, I think Park Ave.
Yes.
And this whole section here was supposed to be a park.
And he could not use that name after all because there is a Park Avenue already in Centerville. So he could not use Park. So he used his own name, Bresner.
Yeah. And of course the dirt road down here, Nathan, that's his first name.
Yeah. Nathan Lane. On the original map, it's Nathan Lane. Now they're calling it Nathan Road. That house right there?
That was Kay's house, right?
That was Kay's house, Kay Licton. That house was a model home on Route 132 in Hyannis. That house was moved here. I watched them move it. And then they added the garage, and there's a room in the back.
And that would have been done sometime after 64 because you said you were already here.
Yeah, I would guess a couple of years later. And we were all very disappointed to see that house move there because that was a lovely lot with trees.
Kay was a nice neighbor, though.
Lovely lady. I miss her very much. We used to hang out together. Lovely lady.
Did you know Mrs. Jacobucci?
Oh, she was my best friend. Yeah. Lovely lady. Her boys grew up here also. So her boys and my daughter used to hang out together and play together. The beach is a tremendous asset when it comes to selling your home. I'm grateful for the life I had here, bringing up my daughter. I'm grateful for the life that we were able to give her, and I wish everybody well, and let's get rid of this virus.